Welcome back. All right, so we're talking about criminal justice reform.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you wanted to make sure you mentioned?
No, those were the biggest things.
Okay. Yeah, that's one that we really need to address in the state, and I am very happy with the direction that Governor Stitt is going, and some of our others, Kevin Calby, and that are on the front lines, working hard on that. So, okay, so I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
Would you vote to repeal the historic tax increase that was passed for the, and of course we're talking about H1010XX,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the tax increase that was passed to fund education?
Yes, I would. I think my idea with education would go a lot further than the tax increase would.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that you'll see a lot of other benefits come from it because, again, what I touched on was just the superintendent,
Mm-hmm.
not also talking about the staff for each one of those superintendents. So you're going to see a lot more money that's going to come into the education budget with just that one thing being done on the administrative level. So I would definitely sign on to that.
Yeah, and we don't have to go firing a bunch of administrators. I mean, there's people retiring, and and then you just don't fill that spot. You just consolidate as time goes on if you have to do it that way. But I'm all for consolidating. Okay, so how about parental choice in vaccines?
That's always been a hard topic for me because I understand both sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's a religious choice, and some people, it's not. I honestly do believe in freedom and liberty,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll usually take the libertarian approach. It's their choice.
Yeah. That's always for me. It's if you know what, err on the side of liberty, because anytime you're taking away someone's individual rights,
Mm-hmm.
it's an infringement. So, and there are people out there that are very, very passionate both ways on this.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you're also seeing more and more studies coming out
oh
constantly,
yeah,
almost every day now.
talking
About correlation, causation, things like
yeah,
that. So
vaccine
there's
injury.
more
I mean, it's
facts
a real
coming out
thing.
about it now.
Oh yeah. There needs to be more studies. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there really does. Okay. Term limits. How do you feel about term limits?
Well, current legislation here in the state of Oklahoma, we do have term
Mm-hmm.
limits. I'm assuming you're talking
Yeah.
about on the
Yes.
federal level.
Yes.
On the federal level, yes, I am staunchly for term limits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should have people serving in office for 30 or 40
Forever.
years, making pretty much their entire fortune off of the taxpayer's dollar.
Yeah.
So I'm very in favor of term limits.
And I like to ask that question even of like the state level legislature candidates, because the ones that are on Capitol Hill started here,
Mm-hmm.
and they change from here to when they get there. So it's always good to get people on record on how they feel about term limits and those type of things. Okay, so permitless carry. We talked maybe just briefly about that. I don't remember if it's on camera or off camera. So how do you feel about the permitless carry bill that was passed and now enacted as of November 1st?
Well, I kind of took a different approach than some people did. I was in favor of it heavily because of the fact that I look at it from the aspect of potential victims. When you look at some of the victims of domestic violence, of rape, of sexual assault, they're usually, if you run the statistics, they're kind of more towards that lower middle, lower class as far as income levels. So they may not be able to afford roughly $200 to $300 in some instances to go pay for a class, to pay for the licensing, to pay for the fingerprint, to pay for the background checks. But they might be able to scrounge enough money to go get a $200 or $300 revolver.
Mm-hmm.
So I was definitely in favor of it from the aspect of I want to give people the ability to defend themselves and not make self-defense based upon income.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
And a lot of times it's women and minorities that can't. Single moms who are, don't have, they maybe they have one income, and then people who are in certain minority classes, they are victimized in the sense statistically more than some groups.
Yes.
And they were also had less access to self-defense or to buying guns because of income or
Yes.
other issues.
And if you see a news story about a would-be rapist shot by a victim who was in the lower income level, but she was able to scrounge enough money to go buy a gun and she was carrying it on her, then constitutional carry worked for what it was designed to do.
Yep. So, without getting too off into the weeds, because this is one of those hot topics for people right now, do you have an opinion on what happened with Tim Harper?
I actually can't comment on that.
Okay.
But I will recommend all your viewers to go read the laws before you start carrying firearms, please. You need to know, it's your responsibility to know what the law says. So if you have a question, if you're not sure, call an attorney friend if you have one. You can also go to different websites, OTUmedia.com. There's plenty of organizations out there that are devoted to making sure people, especially in this category, know their rights. So go out there. You can also contact the wonderful people at U.S. Law Shield as well. They are an organization designed to protect people who have to defend themselves. So, but know what the law says.
Yes, and I have U.S. Law Shield. So, in a case I have to cap anybody.
Me too.
That's an official term. That's an
That's
actual.
what I hear.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, we talked a little bit about it, but how do you feel about how Governor Stitt is doing?
I think he's doing a great job with the ideas that he's bringing in from a business acumen. It's doing a great thing as far as fixing problems with our budget, streamlining services that realistically should have been streamlined probably 10 years ago. He's also looking at different parts of his administration to see what's better for Oklahomans, what we were doing or what we could be doing. So I'm really pleased at what he's done.
I am too. How do you feel about President Trump?
I support some of his actions. I mean, I think some of his policies are doing a lot of good for our country. Some of the ways he's going about other policies, I would probably change a little different, but he's in a unique situation. He's constantly being bombarded from every side. The news media, other politicians, the legislative bodies of this country are beating him up constantly, even some aspects of the judicial branch as well. So he's trying to do the most effective job that he can, and sometimes that pushes him to have to do things that we might consider rash out here in Oklahoma. But we're a long way from D.C. where he's sitting taking this bombardment every day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for the audience, is there anything coming up that where you'll be? I know
I'm planning on being at the conservative Christmas celebration.
Okay.
So I definitely ask not just my people in my district, but Oklahomans, come on out, come see us. Not just the CD5 candidates, but I'm pretty sure local candidates will be there as well. Come talk to us. Come find out what you want, what we're going to be doing, what we're trying to do. Give us some constructive criticisms or talk about some of the issues that you want to talk about. I'll be more than happy to talk about something that may not be part of my platforms, because I do have a lot of ideas past those that I think we can try and do things better as a state to help out each other. I would also love people to come out and show your support for my campaign, because I really need it.
Okay, so where can they find you?
Website's going to be at robertforhd83.com.
Okay.
Facebook is Robert for HD83 in 2020. So I kind of changed it up a little bit with that. But you can also search my name online. You'll find different things about that, but you'll be able to get to me one way or another. I'd love to hear from anybody out there. Shoot me an email, robertforhd83@gmail.com.
Okay, and so one thing I always like to tell our audience when we have candidates on is it's our responsibility to get behind the candidates that we support. And that means knocking doors, that means donating, that means getting their message out there. So if you believe that he is the candidate for you, you need to get behind him and support him. Lip service doesn't do a whole lot. Sometimes Republicans don't want to turn loose of their money, but they need to do that. And they need to go to the conservative Christmas celebration, because there will be lots of candidates there, and they're accessible. You can shake their hand and talk to them one-on-one and see who they really are in person. So, okay. Anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. I appreciate you having me out here. I love the opportunity to kind of get out there and reach not just my potential constituents, but also Oklahomans in general, because this state, we're stronger when we're together working towards a better future. And that's why you'll see a lot of times with anything, I always like to call it working today for Oklahoma's tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I stand for, is working today for Oklahoma's tomorrow, because the future is where we need to start getting to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. And maybe as we get closer to the election, I can have you come back, and I'll have your opponent on too at some point.
It'll be my pleasure to come out.
All right. Good to have you. All right. I will be right back.